What's going on, friends? Welcome back to another 6-1-Indie Showcase developer interview. Mike here, along with Becca on the 6-1-Indie side of things. Hello, Becca.
Hello.
Today, we're here with Forrest from Flipfly. Hey, Forrest, how are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Forrest, Flipfly, I think, like, people overlook you guys quite a bit. And I take offense to it. You guys made one of, like, I have to say, and you obviously you could correct me if I'm wrong. You were like one of the first out the gate, like in the early PS4 days with Race to the Sun, and like I feel like you guys helped like kind of carve the path of like what the indie scene looked like on console with Race to the Sun. Am I correct in saying that in terms of like the timing?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were out pretty early. We actually sim launched Race the Sun on PS4, PS3, and
Man, it was
the
also and
handhelds.
Vita.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I
So that
forgot it was a
was
man. Rest in peace, the Vita.
poor thing. Yeah, it was too early. It's too early.
I know it was ahead of its time. I bring it back, you know. God, yeah. Now that you brought that up, I think I primarily played Race the Sun on Vita. And I think Kyle, the co-founder of 601, I think he has a physical copy of it on Vita from Limited Run. I think
Sweet.
I think Limited Run handled that for you guys, right?
Yeah, yeah, we did a
Yeah.
limited run. Yeah.
God, yeah, so great. Forrest, please to kick things off, tell me a bit about yourself. Tell me about Flipfly, and Whisker Squadron Survivor. What the reason we're all here?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm Forrest. I've been part of the indie games industry since technically 2011, but we didn't actually like release anything until more like 2012, I think. That was kind of like the iPhone was starting to really get going. People were starting to make money with indie games, and we we thought of a bunch of different ideas. We ended up making like a musical creation game
Ooh,
for young children. It was like actually our first thing out of the gate. We didn't know anything about marketing. We tried launching as a free to play, which we didn't know anything about. So it was really well received. Apple loved it. We didn't make any money, and so from there we stepped back and said, okay, what's the next thing? We gotta really process this and think through how we're going to launch the next thing and who we're going to target with it. And so we literally did the spreadsheet. Here are all our ideas, and we went through this whole process of selecting from prototypes, from ideas and concepts, and then Race the Sun came to the top. And we were like, oh, perfect. It's this nice little, like 2-3 month project. We'll get it out there. We'll see how it does. So
was that the dev time for Race the Sun?
no, no, we were
Oh,
completely
okay.
lying to ourselves. Um,
I was about to say that's impressive for 2 to 3 months. Jeez.
no, no, it was more like a year.
Okay.
And
I mean, still.
realistically, yeah, realistically, we should have done more like 2 years. So,
Sure.
um, but yeah, yeah, we ended up that Kickstarter was hot at the time too, so we ended up kind of after burning through all of our all of our budget. Uh, we went to Kickstarter, which is a terrible idea. No one ever do that. Not, no, I'm not saying don't go to Kickstarter. I'm saying don't
Burn your
burn through
budget.
all
Yeah,
your
yeah.
budget and then go to Kickstarter. Um, so almost crashed and burned at that point. That was almost the end of Flipfly right
Jeez.
there. And somehow, kind of like several minor miracles happened in a row. We ended up getting funded through our Kickstarter, and that was like just enough to keep us going. We were able to get into PAX East, and that was where we made our contact over at PlayStation, and so that kind of kicked off the whole PlayStation thing, which was a big
Hell
part of
yeah.
how we got going.
Nice. What? So you mentioned there was like a bunch of pitches, like in the playbook, I guess if you want to say. What was it about Race to the Sun that like you knew that was the one?
At the time, the prototype was literally, I mean, it wasn't too far off what it is now, but it's a triangle, dodging
Yeah.
things, and it's interesting because there's been so many kind of dodge 'em ups that have come out since then, but it was sort of a forgotten genre.
Yeah.
There was these arcade games, way back that kind of followed that pattern and then just sort of disappeared. But it was just fun out of the gate. It was one of those things where like even in this simple state, like I want to do this, I want to keep trying. And so we knew it had that hookiness, and that kind
Yeah.
of that kind of gave us the confidence to move forward.
It's funny. I was immediately drawn to it on paper just because I am quite the Star Fox sicko aficionado. So in my mind, I was like, oh, it's like a Star Fox clone. Hell yeah! But it's like you said, a dodge 'em up is way more appropriate. But it's kind of funny that now you are essentially creating a Star Fox like game, a Star Fox inspired game. So how did Whisker Squadron come about?
Yeah, so Flipfly's been through quite an adventure since Race the Sun. We've
Yeah,
you know Flipfly published a game for another indie, kind of helped to release a an extended version of that. That was we did several kind of smaller releases of like test prototypes, trying to do like more uh, experimental projects to see what would kind of gain some traction and get some interest. We released a puzzle game, which was we loved the game, but it was like we went from a like action, kind of
sure.
racing thing, and then we released another racing game, then we went puzzle game, and so we just didn't have any any knowledge of like how to bring that into to our audience.
And that was Evergarden, right?
Evergarden, yeah,
Yeah.
still very proud of it, but it just didn't do real well financially. And we, kind of again more experimentation, tried a few things, ended up just circling back around to this idea of always. I mean, we're Starbucks fans too as well. Probably not to the extent that Mike is, but uh,
No one is. No one is.
It's an issue.
yeah, but that was really what it came down for us was that was a major inspiration for why we like fell in love with video games just from the old Super Nintendo version of Star Fox. And so it obviously influenced the art style of Race the Sun, and so Whisker Squadron was just kind of started as the concept of what if we had a shooty version of Race the Sun? What would that be like?
Yeah. And please correct me on the timeline. It was initially announced as just Whisker Squadron proper. I remember it was you guys did the Kickstarter, I believe, over lockdown because I think that's when I backed it, and like when you guys sent out like the first early prototypes, which are even that early prototype was a banger. When when did you decide, oh, let's push Whisker Squadron proper? I know there's still a untitled name pending coming sometime next year. When did Whisker Squadron proper kind of break out into Survivor, and when and kind of talk about like why the focus on Survivor first? And yeah, I'm just curious to hear like the thought process behind that.
Yeah, so that was, I was a little bit out of the loop for that one because I stepped back. I've been doing some of my own projects. So I kind of came on board just as that transition was happening,
Okay.
where there was Whisker Squadron, and then really the original game concept had these kind of open space areas, and then there were these action zones, which were more like what Whisker Squadron Survivor is. And getting into it, just like one of those, one of those processes where you're realizing how big of the project you're making. Uh, you kind of have those moments where you go, okay, well, what's the wise way forward here, And so um, realize, and I'm kind of speaking for other people, so I might not be the best one to speak on. So just realize there was a lot of like really good stuff in these action zones that was like really fun
Listen,
right now.
go back to the
Um,
interview from last year for the details.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
fine.
just go reference, yeah, yeah. And so the decision was made to just focus on that first and make this Whiskey Squadron Survivor, which was such a tighter experience. So this is on rails, um, very clearly playing to our strengths, what we know how to do well,
Yeah.
and then the more time that went into that, the more we realized there's just a lot of depth to that space that was unexplored, and the game got bigger and bigger and deeper, and that's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah. I think obviously those clearly with the title like a bit inspired by Vampire Survivors in that genre. Something I always say, and I give you guys such big credit for this. It's a flooded genre nowadays. You are one of the few I could always point to and be like, yeah, this game is doing something special. This is actually doing something interesting with the genre, like that. Obviously, Vampire Survivors and Ponkel really like just hit the ground running with, and is incredible in its own right. But yeah, again, maybe it's just the Star Fox in me, and I just love that gameplay. And again, a lot of Star Fox likes out there. You guys got the feel correctly, also, which is a huge thing.
Mm.
But yeah, just like it seems like such a match made in heaven, like that style of gameplay loop with the Star Fox like mechanics. Um, did again, you might not be the correct person to ask this, but did you always have like that gut feeling, or did the team have that gut feeling of like, oh, it just makes sense that like these two genres or these mechanics with this genre always works, or was it kind of like a surprise that like once you got your hands on the sticks of the prototype, it kind of clicked and just kind of hit the ground running from there?
Yeah, so all credit to Aaron. He's really the lead designer on this, and a lot of these concepts have come from him. So um, a lot of a lot of what goes into these is just trying things,
Yeah,
and that's one of the advantages of being a small indie team is you can put things in there. You can be kind of light on your feet and move around and try things. And so I was kind of on the other side of that, where it's like, okay, we're gonna take these like survivor mechanics, we're gonna just drop upgrades right in the middle of an on rails game, and they're just gonna pop up, and you're just gonna do it. It didn't sound quite right to me, to be completely honest. And then I played it, and it was like, yeah, this is great. This is really cool. Like your run is dynamically changing as you go. It just felt right, and so it's a cool thing where there's a lot of team contribution there as well. So it's like Aaron will get an idea, throw it in the game, everybody play this, and then everybody will weigh in and say, hey, what if we tried, what if we pulled this from, this idea from that game, or what if you change this frequency? And so there's a lot of collaboration that happens as well.
hell yeah. Um, I think also like it's I mean like it's clear that you guys are fans of both genres as well. It's like everything is crafted so to the T. Like it doesn't feel like and not to discredit a lot of games doing the genre and like you know I love my Goobies of the world. I love all that kind of stuff. But there are some games that seem to just kind of try to just capitalize on the genre. But it's clear that you guys actually care and like how to like put your own twist on the genre, and kind of like elevate both the flight combat side of things with the horde survival side as well, and the way you guys are constantly like kind of innovating and updating as well. It's impressive how much you guys are cranking out in this. Like I thought you guys would ship and like that was it, that was the game. But I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, like Twitch integration came after that, which I know like me and Becca were on stream
Hmm.
one evening, and the Twitch integration is super damn fun and
That
very
was my
stressful.
first 6-1 indie stream ever. So
Hell yeah, it
I
was.
have good Whisker Squadron memories.
Awesome.
How how different is like that? You guys are still in early access, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So how different is that initial early access launch to where we are today?
Oh gosh, I'd have to remember. Like things change so fast
Yeah,
in this game.
it really
It's
does. Like we can see
Yeah,
that also.
yeah. It's pretty different. It's pretty different. We had one zone, kind of one area.
Yeah,
Um, we're gonna ship with three areas, and we actually had a major shift in the game where initially it was just kind of this one endless experience that was basically uninterrupted. You kind of have these tight little zones, and then you jump to the next zone. Now we've got a map, and it's much more kind of like roguelike-ish, where you've got these the structure of making decisions outside of the zones, and you jump to these which is that's very much a work in progress. So if you're on the beta right now, you're seeing this stuff come through, and it's not fully fleshed out yet, but it's going to be awesome, I promise you. I see what's going on behind the scenes here. So uh
it's like game
yeah,
dev in a nutshell. It's gonna be
yeah,
awesome, I
it's
promise.
going to be awesome, I promise. Trust me.
Trust us.
Yeah, so now it's got this kind of more of a campaign. Still, the core gameplay is the same. You're still shooting bugs in a corridor. You're still getting this kind of survivor-like experience where you're doing upgrades mid-run. We're just kind of expanding that out a little bit into this map, and a little bit more strategy along the way. Also gives you a chance to take a breather because the game can be a bit
Sure.
intense. So
Yes.
we realized that was visually frenetic, kind of a little bit too much for some players. So this gives you an option to kind of say,
Sure.
how long do I need a break for?
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I always appreciate the moments that like you finish an area and you take that like breather where like the characters are interacting with one another. Okay, I could put the controller down for a sec.
Yeah,
I'm good, and then like right back to it. It's anxiety inducing the best way possible, depending on how well my health is in the little breathers.
absolutely, absolutely. So
Um,
yeah, it's come a long way since that first release.
how's the of course discuss this to your own discretion, whatever you're comfortable with. How's the future looking?
Good. I mean, we've got we're at the point now where we've been able to map out our roadmap really clearly internally because
Nice.
we're kind of done with the experimental phase and done throwing things in there.
Sure.
And now it's all about refinement, building on what's there, like adding more options and details to the map screen. We've got a new update dropping very soon here,
Ooh,
which will add, I think it almost doubles the amount of upgrade items in the game, the things that
nice.
you'll
Oh wow.
upgrade mid-run. So there's a bigger diversity. You'll see fewer items, because you're, a bigger pool to pull from. So it'll take
Yeah.
you longer to kind of explore through and find all of those, which is exciting for me because I like that where you just don't, what did I just pick, and then you kind of have to
Yeah.
explore that and figure out how to use it well. Um, so yeah, looking really good. I'm when I look at the roadmap, I'm very excited about where the game's headed.
Nice. And of course, there's well, I'm gonna take this straight from the Steam page. Of course, there is also Whisker Squadron: Untitled Space Game that you guys are also working on. Obviously, you don't have to get into it much because I know clearly Survivor's the focus. But how's Untitled Space Game coming along?
That's very unknown at the moment. Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
okay,
that's kind of yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so we'll see where that one leads. Right now we're focused on making Survivor everything that we were dreaming of,
nice.
and making sure that thing is solid, and then
The healthier way to go about it. Like, yeah, don't
yeah.
juggle multiple projects.
Yeah, exactly, and it's a tiny team. We've just
Yeah,
got
of course.
limited bandwidth, and we're, I really feel we're punching above our weight and getting a lot done. And so just to like try to do two things simultaneously is stretching everybody too thin.
I mean, speaking of doing things simultaneously, outside of Flipfly, you madman, you also are spinning up your own studio. I definitely have to ask about Shadows and Shells.
Sure.
Please, like whatever you want to discuss, whatever you don't want to discuss. I know probably early days, maybe it kind of seems like. Yeah, we'd love to hear kind of like your vision for that studio and then what you're currently cooking a little bit, if you're allowed to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. So that's part of the process as I've kind of grown into being a game dev is I went from really doing a lot of UI, graphic art kind of styling, moved into more of a full-time game artist, where I'm doing 3D, and kind of grew a lot with from Race to Sun onward. Um, and then I fell in love with game design and realized that I had all kinds of ideas. I started building prototypes personally, and I kind of have that space in my brain where I go, wouldn't it be weird if, or I want to see this somebody try this thing that that is so different and so out there, very very kind of outside of the stuff that Flipfly has been doing. Like Flipfly's like heart and soul has been to take kind of lost ideas and in game design and sort of bring them back and refine them, and so our innovation has mostly been of that sort,
Yeah.
where you're saying, oh, there's this dodge 'em up idea. We can build on that. We can make it more. We can refine it. And Aaron is like, even though he spends most of his time doing design now, he's a fantastic game gameplay programmer. Is kind of the term that uh, I throw around. Some people kind of understand what I mean when I say that. Like somebody who can look at the way a character moves through the space
Right.
and say, here are 10 things I can do to make that feel better, and he can just do that. And so that's been a strength of Flipfly for a long time, where my brain goes to the weird and the difficult. So for the game I'm building right now, which is unannounced because I'm gonna go the route of trying to find a publisher,
Of course, yeah.
and go that way for Shadows and Shells, is in the fumblecore genre, where it's just intentionally difficult to play.
Okay.
So that's part of why Shadows and Shells exists, is just these bizarre ideas that maybe don't fit into what Flipfly is doing.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I do love on the website, shadowsofshells.com. Any potential publishers, go to the website. Our first game will make you laugh, might make you cry, and will definitely make you want to throw a controller. I appreciate that. I'm excited to see what that turns into.
Yeah. When I can go public with what I've got, I will definitely let you know.
Hell yeah. Well, Forrest, we like to close each one of these conversations with kind of a loaded question. There's no right or wrong answer here, so feel free to tell me to go screw myself. I don't care. What does indie mean to you?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the question, right?
And hey, we could talk about the business side of things. We could talk about the vibe side of things, just like gut response.
Yeah, my gut says that an indie is hard to define in the financial sense because there are, kind of fairly large studios that seem to operate indie.
Yeah.
And then there are smaller studios that are kind of just cranking things out, you know, that don't seem very indie. So for me, I kind of go to the vibe and I say indie is about freedom and creativity, trying new things. Um, it's funny because I feel like every industry's had this conversation, right? Like, what is it? What is indie music? What is what is it? What is an indie movie? Um, Generally speaking, I don't think it's good to make hard definitions because there are publishers, who are indie publishers. But then, you can kind of say, oh, that breaks, then you're not indie anymore because you got
Yeah.
somebody, telling you what to do. Not necessarily true with every publisher. Some publishers are very much giving creative freedom to the individual. And I that's where I think it is. I think indie is all about creative freedom. Uh, you can have something, and that's something that's happening right now in the industry is what we call indie is looking more and more polished. It's looking more and
Yeah.
more, kind of triple A or, professional or however you want to use it. Um, but I still love those scrappy little pixel art
Oh, of
experimental
course.
games that just trying something different. Um, so yeah, I guess that's what indie means to me is creative freedom.
It's a good answer. Well done. You passed the test.
I passed. Awesome. I'm still indie. Yeah.
Well, Forrest, thank you so much for hanging out for a little bit. Sincerely, Whisker Squadron Survivor is like one of my favorite recent games for obvious reasons. So I'm really excited to keep on playing. I'm excited to see the map features. I do not have. I gotta talk to you about beta access. Before we go, please plug away. Where could people follow you? Flipfly, Whisker Squadron, Proper, and Survivor. Of course, Shadows and Shells. Have at it.
Yeah, Flipfly. There's an X or Twitter. Flipfly
Yeah,
is
the other way.
very active there. So um, I think that's the primary source. And then there's a newsletter you can sign up to, which is just flipfly.com. It's got the sign up right on the newsletter. Those are probably the two primary modes. We've got a couple folks who are pretty active on the Steam forum. So if you do grab Whisker Squadron Survivor, you can jump in there and leave some comments. We're doing this is pretty cool. Angela, our producer, is and Cole, our QA lead, is they've been pretty involved in like surveying people. So if you want to actually like have influence on where the game
Nice.
goes and have feedback on that realm, like each release basically has its own forum you can go to right from within the game and get us direct feedback. So definitely
Awesome.
do that.
And of course, Whisker Squadron Survivor out now on Steam. Please purchase it.
In early access, yes.
In early access, yes.
Yep.
Please purchase it. Throw Whisker Squadron. Was it Untitled Space Game? Throw that a wish list. All that good stuff. And of course, all of those links can be found on sixoneindie.com/showcase. Click on the Whisker Squadron Survivor key art, and all the links to find all the places is listed there. Forrest, thank you so much for hanging out. Pleasure chatting. Been a fan for
Yeah.
way too long, so it's nice to finally make the connection. And yeah, everyone listening, watching, whatever you're doing, I think that we're doing 17 of these interviews, so I'm sure you have another one to listen to. So go ahead and click the next one. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.